Mhm. Have you ever felt like you had to defend your dinner by holding on to your plate? Well, then this one's for you. First, you're not crazy, and you're not reckless, and you're certainly not alone. You change what you eat, and you start eating meat every day, and suddenly everyone at the table has an opinion. They quote their doctor while your daughter chimes in, and then they remind you that Uncle Wayne's best friend's brother who read an article. They mean well and they love you, but where did all this come from? The questions keep coming, and some of them sting like a bee on a hot day in July. Hi, I'm Steve, and welcome to another Down Home Clean Carnivore video. I've heard every one of these questions, and today I'm handing you the answers. So the next time you sit down to eat, you sit down ready. Let's be real. When you change your routine and you start eating only meat, it gets noticed by day 2. The pushback rarely comes from strangers. It comes from people closest to you, the ones who notice the change immediately and start asking questions. Most people resist change, especially when it's one of their own who's rocking the status quo, the dinner table, the family group chat, the holiday gathering. And it's not because they're against you, it's because they're afraid for you. They also are afraid of who you might become. They wonder if you will actually change and cast a light on their own habits and shortcomings. They have a vested interest in their own routines. Here's the part that nobody tells you. Criticism and love can wear the same face. So I'm not going to teach you how to win a fight. I'm going to teach you how to answer with peace. Here are 5 questions and 5 answers. Let's walk through them together. Here's the first one, and it's the one that stings the most because it usually comes from someone wearing a white coat. What about your heart? And how about all that fat and cholesterol? This is a big one, and the one that makes people shudder. And I understand why. Most of us grew up being told that fat clogs you up like grease going down a drain. We were trained to trim off the extra fat, move it to the side of the plate, and then throw it away. But here's the truth. The conversation around cholesterol and saturated fat is a lot less simple than we were led to believe. There are board-certified physicians, people willing to risk their reputation, who question parts of the story that we were all handed. I didn't simply take their word for it. I read the books, more than 60 of them, on metabolism, insulin resistance, inflammation, and heart health. Modern nutritional science has also forced us to look beyond dietary fat. Added sugar, refined carbohydrates, insulin resistance, and inflammation all belong in the heart health conversation. Simply trimming the fat from your steak while continuing to consume large amounts of sugar does not settle the issue. What most people do not realize is that the goalposts have moved. In 1988, total cholesterol below 200 was officially labeled desirable. Later, LDL targets were pushed even lower for people considered at risk. At the same time, statins entered the market. Major studies showed benefits in certain heart patients, and prescribing expanded. By 2013, the recommendation was no longer based on a cholesterol number. It could also be based on your calculated 10-year risk of a heart attack or stroke. So when someone tells you that the cholesterol question is simple and settled, Remember that the numbers, the targets, and even the method used to decide who receives medication have all changed. Here's how you answer your family calmly and simply. I'm not ignoring my heart. I'm paying closer attention to it than I ever have. I'm tracking my numbers and learning what they mean. I talk to my doctor and I'm watching how I actually feel, my energy, my inflammation, and my clarity. You're not dismissing their fear. You're showing them that you took it seriously enough to study it. Becoming an expert on you is very important. Be vigilant. That's one about your body. The next one is sneakier because it sounds like concern, but it's really about control. How are you going to get all of your vitamins? And how will you know when you're deficient? Ah, yes, the vegetables and the fiber. Where are you going to get your fiber, your vitamins, and your antioxidants? Here's the reframe. Most people look at a steak and they see protein and maybe fat. What they do not see is the B12, iron, zinc, selenium, and B vitamins packed inside it. Beef helps support your energy, muscles, immune system, blood, brain, and nerves. Meat is not the empty plate that they picture. Beef, eggs, and organ meats are among the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet. We were taught to build a plate around the sides. What if the main course was the point all along? Your answer: I get what my body actually needs in a form I can actually absorb. And here's the real test: I feel better than I have in years, and my blood work agrees with me. Can you see what you're doing? You're not arguing science across the table. You're pointing to results. Results have a way of changing the conversation. And while somebody may question your conclusions, they cannot effectively argue with your honest testimony that you feel better. So far, these have been about food. Question 3 isn't about food at all. It's about them. Why can't you just eat normal? You're making everyone uncomfortable. This is where it stops being about health and starts being about the table itself, the holidays, the shared meal, the feeling that you've pulled away from the group. And I want you to hear this gently. This one deserves compassion and not a comeback, because underneath it is a real fear. Are you leaving us behind? I'm not making anyone uncomfortable. I changed what is on my plate. Each person has to own his own reactions. I'm not asking anyone else to eat the way I eat, and I'm not judging what is on anyone else's plate. I'm simply taking responsibility for my own health. I still want to sit down with you, talk with you, laugh with you, and be a part of the family. But I cannot surrender what is helping me just to make my choices less noticeable. Their discomfort may be real, but it belongs to them. You can respond with kindness without assuming responsibility for feelings that you did not create. Keep the relationship warm. Keep your plate simple, and let everyone at the table own his own choices. You keep the relationship, and you keep your health. You don't have to trade one for the other. That question came from love. The next one comes from doubt, and it's usually from the person who's watched you try this before. Isn't this just another crash diet? You'll just gain it all back. The skeptic's question usually comes from someone who knows you well and has watched your every move through all the seasons of life. They have seen you try a new diet before, maybe more than one. Your past failures likely fueled their skepticism, and they may feel completely justified. Their doubt is earned. Don't take it personally. Here's one thing that separates this from many other diets. Most diets restrict how much you eat without changing the fuel your body is depending on. You are often eating smaller portions of the same foods that left you hungry and craving for more in the first place. You can be certain that approach is built on willpower, but willpower alone is no match for sugar cravings and the reward signals driving them. This is not about gritting your teeth. When the cravings quiet down, when the food monkey finally goes silent, you are not white-knuckling anything. You are just no longer hungry for the chaos. Your answer. A diet is something temporary with the end in mind. This is how I want to live. Ask me again in a year, and then let's look at the difference together. That last part matters. You're not slamming the door. You're inviting them to watch. Which brings us to the last question, and this one that isn't really a question at all. It's a wound. So you think you're better than us now? Perhaps this is the hardest one, because it's not about carnivore. It's about our connection with people closest to us. When one person in the family changes, the rest of the family somehow feels judged, even when not a single word of judgment has been spoken. Here's the truth. Your transformation can feel like a mirror to a mother or a sister who is not ready to look at herself. That is not your fault. And it's not your job to shrink so that she can feel comfortable. Your answer from the heart. I don't think that I'm better than anyone. I found something that is working for me. And if you ever want it, I'll walk with you. And even if you never do, I will love you exactly the same. So if you're carrying the weight of everyone's questions right now, I want to leave you with this one thing. Here's what I've learned. You will never convince anyone by arguing them into believing in your health. But you can live in a way that makes them curious. The critics at your table are not your enemy. They are your family. They are often standing where you used to stand. So give them some facts, but don't overwhelm them enough to overpower them. Emphasize how you feel with non-scale victories. your clothes fitting looser, or moving to a smaller hole in your belt. Speak with peace and a gentle voice. And when nothing helps, give yourself permission to step away before you say something you will regret. You do not have to stay in the argument until they understand you. That day may never come. Sometimes peace means knowing when the conversation is over. Words spoken in anger are like toothpaste squeezed from the tube. You cannot put it back. Keep answering with love. Keep eating in a way that is giving you your life back. If this was useful, if it struck a chord, or you know someone sitting at a hard table tonight, share it with them. Not for me, for them. They won't be difficult to recognize.